Going to hear some memories at this time from Mary Jo, daughter Mary Jo Tantalo Hensey, and then we're going to, after that we will sing another one of Jim's favorite songs, Come to the Water, and this morning's message will be centered around that coming to the water and life abundance. So go ahead, Mary Jo.
Thank you for that song. Actually, I didn't know that was one of my dad's favorite songs, and I love Psalm 139. And right after he died, I spent an extra amount of time in that psalm and discovered that there's not a place we can go, not a thing we can do, we can't take a seat or get up from the seat without the Lord knowing that we're doing that. And so I love how appropriate that song is to my memories of my dad and of that time. So thank you for letting me know that I had something else in common with my dad. I didn't even know. We're so glad to see all of you gathered here with us, our friends. Jen, I was hoping you would come. So thank you, and I have great love and admiration for my dad. He was a real guy. He hated traffic. He got really frustrated with using his cell phone. In fact, if you call him, his voicemail says something like, "If this stupid thing works, I'll call you back." But so he was real. He had flaws, but I'm going to talk about how great he was because I really do think he was such a great person. I think what I admire most about him is that he was a person who consistently did the right thing, and he was so faithful to take care of everything and everyone that came his way. He made everything that he touched better. In the last few years, I think he was wondering if he had done well by his family, and I believe he did. We had a life full of love and laughter. I remember being tucked in and having stories. We had attentive parents. They came to our swim meets. I remember we would go to Regina Pizzeria on payday. So they made sure we had not just regular food, but treats too on their special on payday. He was always making sure we had what we needed. My dad has been so faithful to care for my mom. They were married for 57 years, and it would have been 58 in April. He said that after 50 years, he did confess that he wasn't going to sign up for another 50. But he would just take it year by year. And but that was nothing against Rosemary, because he adored her and was crazy about her the entire time they were married. He thought she was very attractive and was very proud to have you as his wife. You might hear him say, and some of you have probably said these same words, "What in the world is Rosemary up to now?" Yes? But when he said it with a little sparkle in his eye, and it was like it was a source of joy in his life. Her nuttiness made him happy. Once, when I was still a baby, he had saved up money to buy a lawnmower. And on the way to the store to get the lawnmower, he passed a different department and saw a rocking chair that he knew my mom wanted. And so he came home with the rocking chair, and she still has that chair. My parents' decision to move here was another way that my dad took care of my mom. Just like Jarvis said, she's in a community of people who care for her and are watching out for her. And I've already told a few of you that you know she needs a little extra supervision. So I thank you for doing that. But I'm thankful that she's here in a place where she doesn't have to worry about fixing the roof or getting the lawn mowed, which she couldn't do anyway because she just has that rocking chair. My dad took really good care of himself as well, and he was very faithful to exercise and eat right and make sure we did the same. I remember when I was a kid, he would come home and he'd go in his room, come home from work, go in his room and do some exercises. He'd go to the gym a couple times a week, or if it was summertime, he would come and swim at the pool. Here at Sunnyside, he was in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. And right up until the end, he had very impressive posture, shoulders back and nice straight back. I hope I asked for that from him. I want that. I want his ability to keep his word and his nice straight posture. And everybody shoulders back. Okay. My dad did an excellent job of taking care of us kids as well. My brother and I are both adopted, and I don't know how we got lucky enough to be, if any of you are wondering how I'm Italian, that's how. I was adopted by Italians. I don't look it. But we were both adopted, and when they got my brother, he was allergic to everything. The poor child was just this itchy ball of eczema, and all he could eat was bananas. And it was almost the 70s, and I guess that was when processed foods were becoming widely available, and my parents started reading the labels on food, and they were like, this is garbage. And so we hardly ever had a snack or a bad thing in the house, but feeding him like that cured him and made him well. So they took this poor itchy kid and turned him into a healthy boy, and I love that they would go through all that effort to do that. My dad and I were pretty close. We shared the same slightly off sense of humor. I think sometimes we would be laughing about something and my mom would not be sure what it was, but she has her own slightly off sense of humor as well. My dad and I had a secret handshake. He said it was from the Tigers Club. It turns out there is no Tigers Club. It was just something he made up for us, which that makes it sweeter for me, really. One of my favorite stories to tell about my dad involves him teaching me how to drive. We grew up in Maryland, right outside of DC, very busy traffic area, and I worked in DC, so that meant we had to go from my house onto the Beltway to my job. I had my learner's permit. My dad was going to let me drive. So we're in the car, and I merge onto the Beltway, and I hear him say, okay, go ahead and get over to the left lane. And I don't say anything out loud. I just think, wow, my dad is going to teach me to drive in the left lane on the Beltway. Wow. So I put on my turn signal and I get over, all the way over. I'm in the left lane, I'm driving, I'm keeping up with traffic, I'm doing it. And then I hear him say, in the calmest voice imaginable, very good. Now, go ahead and get all the way over to your other left. So apparently he had said right. I love that story because I think it's just such a good indication of he was just this calm, steady person. And like if our kids had done that in the car, I would have been like, what are you doing? Very good. So my dad paid for me to go to college, and I graduated with no debt. And at the time, I totally took it for granted that he had made this plan and he had saved this money and he had put it aside, and he was very proud of how he had worked it out to pay for it. And he had given us such a sweet life that I didn't even think, oh, you mean we have to pay for college? So I'm thankful for how he took care of me in that way. I was talking to my dad over the phone while he was in the hospital in early December, before we knew what was happening with him. And I had a cold. I was in Louisiana, I had a cold, and he's giving me instructions on how to get better when he's in the middle of his own issues trying to figure out what was going on. And so he always was taking care of people ahead of himself. My dad is really good at taking care of other people as well. I think he liked to collect people or adopt people. That's what I like to call it. Since we were adopted, I think he just liked to adopt. I think my mom likes to do it too, just adopt more people into her family. If you've been invited into my dad's home or into his life in any special way, then you've been adopted and collected as well. He truly cared about people. He wanted to see people succeed. He encouraged them. At his work in Washington, D.C., there was a man in his office that kept getting passed over for a promotion, and so my dad went through, it was the government, and so there's certain steps that you have to take and do, and so he made sure that this man was able to check off all the boxes so that he could get this promotion. He worked at the Y and the J for a little while, and he was just a helper on the floor. He was very attentive, and so he would help people with their exercises, and there were always ladies that would go and ask if Jim could be their trainer. And actually somebody here today told me that, so it's a true story. I think my dad also liked helping the underdog. And once I remember we were trick-or-treating, we were very little, and some bigger kids stole the candy of some littler kids, and my dad went and got that candy back. And I was so proud that my dad was this hero that would go get that candy and save the day for the little kid. It wasn't me. It wasn't my brother stealing my candy from me. And then recently I learned something about my dad that I didn't know. It was exciting to have a revelation about him. Hurricane Irma was coming. I was in Texas because of Harvey, and I was talking to my dad on the phone about preparing, and I was kind of concerned, are they preparing, are they ready, are they doing the right things? And his answer was, well, I've got my wine and my chocolate, and I think we're ready. And all of a sudden I realized, wow, what he's saying is that he's done what's in his power to do, and the rest is out of his hand. And I used to worry that my dad worries too much. I don't know if that's okay or not, but it turns out that his worry causes him to be a man of action. And somehow he has the wisdom to know, this is an area where I can take action, this is an area where I have a glass of wine and relax. That is exactly why my mom and I have had such a beautiful and carefree life. My sweet dad, providing for us in all the ways that were in our power, but relaxed and steady even when the boat was rocking. Time is so short. I remember driving to Rochester, New York from Maryland, a trip that took about 8 hours. When I was very young, it seemed like it took forever. We'd be in the back of the station wagon, and I remember thinking, we will never get there. Of course we did, but my dad always tried to warn me that time goes really fast, and he was right. Here we are at the celebration of his life, and he had a full life. He beat life expectancy by 4 years. But it still wasn't enough time. But I'm so glad that we have the hope of heaven, and we'll have all of eternity to enjoy it. There will be joyful reunions, an amazing fellowship, and right relationships, and no time limits. It's so hard to say goodbye to my dad, but I'm very thankful that it's only goodbye for now. In the Bible, in Revelation, it says, I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. These words are trustworthy and true. I believe my dad is in heaven. I believe I will see him again. When the Bible talks about hope, it's not a wish, like maybe it will come true. The biblical definition is a confident expectation. And anyone who believes that Jesus died on the cross to take the punishment that we deserve because we sinned against the Lord in his perfection can have this hope and this promise as well. So I confidently expect that there will be a day when there will be no more tears. Meanwhile, on earth there probably will be more tears. So please pray for us. Keep an eye on my mom. If she tries to tell you she has dementia, do not believe her, because my earliest memory is helping her find her keys. And there's a key fob floating around somewhere that she has recently lost. It has her name on it if you find it. It has her name on it. But if she loses her sense of humor, or that little spring in her step, or her easy smile and happy laugh, then you should be worried. Then you should call me immediately and let me know. We're so thankful for your love and your support today, and for your prayers. I know that they buoyed me through this. I was afraid I would just cry the whole time, which is okay, but it's hard to speak when you cry. So we're thankful for your support. We're thankful for you coming to celebrate my dad's life, and we are happy that you are in a place where you'll have the continued love and support of your friends in your community.
The next